Hey, Marco Shiro, your financial firefighter. Today, what I want to talk about is how much rent should you be charging your tenants? So let me remind you, I do work for the Honolulu Fire Department. I do work for RE/MAX Honolulu. All the ideas, topics discussed on this channel are on my own. I'm not a financial planner. I'm just here to hopefully help you get started on your out-of-state real estate investing journey. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know how I'm doing so I can help grow this channel and I can help more individuals hopefully reach their financial freedom. So let's get started. So before we get into how much should we charge our tenant, let's go over kind of some ways how we can get some comps for the rent that we should be charging. So one great way, probably the best way, is to talk to your property manager and even other property managers in the area to get an idea what kind of rent these properties are commanding. And a realtor also can be super helpful, but what I noticed is a realtor is always going to be usually a little bit higher than what the market rate is. It's just, the realtor, they're into sales, right? They're trying to sell properties, so they're going to always tell you a little bit higher number. So whatever the realtor gives me, I always try to break it down maybe about 20% below that. But property manager is probably your most reliable source of information. But there's also sites that you can use. So there's Rentometer is a very, very good site. Some of the data is lagging, but it's super quick and easy to kind of give you a good, a good idea of what this particular property is going to be commanding in rent. Also, Zillow has their own Zillow estimate for rent. You can also go to Bigger Pockets, has their own rent calculator. But Facebook Marketplace, right? You go punch in your zip code that you're looking at the property, and you look at properties in that particular area. You kind of match it up, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, maybe square footage, and you get an idea of what these type of properties are going to be commanding for rent. So, like I said, there's a lot of ways to kind of figure out the rent, but I recommend definitely the property manager or multiple property managers in that area. That's one of the best ways to figure out how much rent you can collect in your market and the type of properties that you're going to be purchasing. So the one thing I noticed is that most new investors, and I made these same mistakes myself, is most new investors get caught up in the top value for market rent, right? So when you look up these estimates or running these comps or you talk to property managers, you're always thinking, oh, I can, if they tell you you can get $1,500 for this particular area or that type of property, in your head, you're like, oh yes, I can get $1,500 and that's what I want, right? So that is kind of a problem, right? Because we don't want to be at the top of the market, right? Because we're not going to typically have the nicest property on the block, right? We're not going to be paying top dollar for our rental property. We want a nice, safe property that's going to want a tenant to stay, but we're not going to be investing a lot of money for that. This property is going to be the top of the block, right? As far as its curb appeal, its appliances, the way it looks, right? We don't want to be top value, right? But we want to be close to market rent, right? So I think that's one of the big problems is, if you find a comp that might say $1,500, in your head, especially as a new investor, you're like, yes, I can get $1,500 and that's what I want, right? But you also have to realize that that might be the top of the market, right? And so you want to be close to the market rent, but you're going to usually settle for a little bit below, and that's the way you're going to get a lot of applicants. That's the way you're going to get good tenants and tenants that want to stay, right? Because if you are commanding top dollar, right, there's always going to be someone else that's going to be bringing maybe a better product to the market, right? And if your tenant sees that they can get this other property for the same or maybe even a little bit less, and that has newer amenities or a newer property, they might be like, you know what, I'm gonna go pay the same price basically, but I'm gonna get a newer and better property. So for you wanna make sure you're able to keep your tenant in there as long as possible. So you don't wanna be charging top dollar, but you wanna be close to market rent because you wanna make sure that you're able to cover all your expenses and whatever maintenance does come up, right? So you definitely want to be on top of it. You want to treat it like a business. You want to stay on top of raising rents when the need is to raise rents, but you also want to stay close to that market rate, right? So let's not get caught up in always wanting to charge top dollar. And I think I definitely, when I first started, that was one of my biggest mistakes. Is, you know, I saw a comp for 1,500 and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get 1,500 and that's what I can get. And my properties sat there for a little while, right? You know, because I was hoping to get top of the market rate. But if you price it a little bit below that, better chance you're gonna get quality tenants that want to stay a long time, and you're not gonna be competing with these properties that might be nicer than yours. One reason you wanna be slightly below the market rate is you want your tenant to feel like they're winning, right? You want them to feel like they're getting a deal. So you price your rental slightly below the market rate. Your tenant is going to feel like, yeah, I'm getting a good deal out of this. And that's also very important to having your tenants stay in your property longer, right? Because that is going to be one of the biggest expenses you have is when tenants move out, right? When you have tenant turnover, that's probably going to be one of your biggest expenses. So vacancy is super critical, right? So we want to find tenants, good tenants that want to stay in your property. And that's why it's important to maintain your property, you know, keep your property livable, keep it nice. When they have repairs, you fix them in a timely manner. But that's why it's super critical, because having good tenants and tenants that stay a long time is super, super important, right? Because like I said, when you have tenant turnover, that's probably going to be one of your bigger expenses, right? So keep your rental slightly below market rate. That way your tenant feels like they're winning, they want to stay, and they think that they're getting a deal from you, okay? Hopefully this was super helpful. Hopefully this helps you not make the same mistakes that I made, because I had some properties that were sitting vacant for a little while because I always thought I could command a certain amount for rent, right? And it's also, you know, you got to realize that sometimes, you know, you have to pivot and adjust. And that's one thing we got to keep in mind, is that we're not going to always get top dollar, right? Our property is not going to be at the top of the list because we're not going to be buying, so we're not going to pay a premium. We're not going to be fixing it up so it's super nice, because we're not living in it. We want it to be a nice, safe place that's somewhat for a rental, right? That's going to spend time there and that's affordable and that they can live in, right? So hopefully this is super helpful. I don't want you folks making those same mistakes that I did. I want this to be a great journey for you, right? And that way it's a lot smoother transition to growing your portfolio, and you don't want to quit anytime soon. But definitely I want to help people not make those same mistakes that I made, right? So like I said, please like, subscribe, comment. I want to grow this channel. I definitely want to help more people. I'm having fun helping people getting their first out-of-state rentals, and it's been super fun, you know. So even doing this channel, I love it. So please, you know, message me if you want any help, have any questions. But just trust the process, and until my next video, just keep looking for those deals.